Okay, hi. So I'm Bob Peterson, and this is something that I call Truth Bombs 2. If you missed Truth Bombs 1, it'll be on my YouTube channel. Basically, it's a set of me rambling about different philosophical things. Basically, the idea that I had in mind was if I'm dead, if I die, and they want more than just static photos of me to do at the funeral, what kind of information would they put as a video playing in the background for people who are at my funeral, for example? What messages would I want to send to the world? And so I started thinking about this way back in December of 2020, and I came up with inspirational things. My inner voice started rambling on different topics, and I wrote a lot of it down, tried to organize it a little bit. But anyway, that's the story there. Today I want to talk about life experiences and travel. And so here's truth bomb number one. I've always believed that life experiences are more valuable than things. Some people disagree with me. They argue that experiences are fleeting. They're not persistent, whereas physical objects stick around. Even after we die, they stick around. If you spend $20,000 buying a Harley Davidson, you're still going to have that Harley Davidson in 20 years, right? But if you spend $20,000 traveling around the world in a year, it'll just be gone. It'll be just memories. And so that's the argument. And I feel just the opposite. You can't take those physical objects with you when you die. When you die, all you take with you is your experiences, your life's journey, and the lessons you've learned, the memories of how you helped people, how you loved people, how you had fun with people. And that's what we take away from this lifetime. It's not about that Harley that's sitting in your garage, or any of the things in your household. When you have out of body experiences like I have, you learn to not value physical objects as much because you've been non physical, and so you can see that none of that is important. Um, I remember several years ago I attended a lecture from Daniel Brinkley, author of Saved by the Light, and he talks about his near death experiences. What he told us in the audience is that when he had his first NDE, he went through a life review process, which is very common. And he relived his entire lifetime up to that point. And but it wasn't just from his own perspective. That's the thing. He had to feel the consequences of his actions on other people. He felt how he had hurt other people. He felt how he made them sad, broke their hearts, made them depressed or angry. He felt every little cruelty, every little bit of isolation he made other people feel in his life. And he had to admit it. He'd been an asshole all his life. And of course, I'm paraphrasing, right? I don't remember his exact words, but he was harsh on himself, and I remember that. And of course, his near death experience turned his life around. He changed his life and started taking other people's feelings into account. And now he's a completely different man. Um, and even before that lecture, every day I tend to ask myself, when I get to the end of my life, how's this action going to look at a life review? Am I making someone else's life better or worse? How are they going to look at me? Are they going to look at me with joy or scorn? Did I bring happiness to their life or sadness? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to get to the end of my life and find out that I've been an asshole all my life. Um, so I want to minimize the pain that I cause others, and I hope you do too. Um, if everyone lived their lives from that perspective, just think of how wonderful this life would be, right? Um, and that kind of leads me to the thinking about other people. So here's truth bomb number two. Most people are the same all over the world. I've traveled around the world. I've been fortunate enough to do that when I was young, and I've met many people in many countries. For example, I went to Turkey and went to the city of Konya. My guide described it as a beautiful golden bowl that's filled with scorpions. It's a dangerous place. He said to be careful because there are some Islamic extremists there. But you know, most people are all the same. They're concerned about the basics: eating, drinking, shelter, paying the bills, raising their children, that kind of thing. Kathy and I went into a textile shop there in Konya, Turkey, and we bought some lace cloth for curtains. And we talked to the shopkeeper and asked him, "What are your thoughts about Americans? And don't hold back." And what he said, and we've heard this from many, many people in many, many countries, is that he likes Americans, but he doesn't like our government. Well, I agree. I don't like our government either. That's something we have in common, right? And that's the power of travel. You get to learn from other people. Suddenly, they're not just terrorists for our military to bomb with drones. It doesn't matter if they're Muslims or Hindus or Christians or whatever they believe. They're just people like you and I. And there's a connection between people. And that's the value of travel. I believe in travel, and hopefully the world will open up this possibility again. And along those same lines, I've never understood when people who just sit at home and watch television and don't do anything else. Television is pre-programmed content from somebody else's mind. They're feeding your brain with images and words, and it makes your brain lazy. It does the thinking for you. So I say do your own thinking, do your own research, go out and get your own experiences. Walk on the beach or play in the snow, breathe in the fresh mountain air, build something, share something, do something. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that watching television is bad. In fact, I do watch some television, but I don't watch a lot. It's a rut that you can get stuck in. So truth bomb number 3, stop procrastinating. When is the time to start that project? Right now. When is the time to start telling family and friends that you love them? Right now. When is the time to start meditating or to learn a new language or to see the world? Right now. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to do these things when I retire. When I'm retired, I'll finally have time to do this and that, or when my kids are grown, I'll have time to do these things. You want to do these things, do them now. Because you might not live to retirement. My dad was in France in World War II, and he came back with some wonderful war stories. He used to sit in our kitchen, talk about them, remembering the good times with his good buddy, Walt Hammond, and they're both now passed. But he was always going to write a book about it, my dad, but he died before he reached the age of retirement. And when they went through his things, all they found was a title page. I've written 5 books now, and it's partly because my dad never took the time to do it. And I was instilled with that sense of urgency. You don't have forever. You got to do things while you can. You might not wake up tomorrow, right? So do it now. Don't take the time, make the time. And many people tell me, Bob, you've had a remarkable life. And maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I've done some remarkable things. I've traveled around the world. I've explored castles in Germany and temples in India. I've had out-of-body experiences. I've bent spoons. I've traveled across country on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. I've practiced Tai Chi, Chi Na, Qigong, some Shaolin Kung Fu, and things like that. And it's not all glamorous. I've rebuilt carburetors. I've repaired and reprogrammed refrigerators. I've written computer firmware. I've designed and built stained glass windows. I've dug diamonds in a diamond mine, and I actually found one. I've dug quartz crystals out of the ground with my bare hands at the top of Mount Ida in Arkansas. I've canoed with hippos in Africa. I've ridden elephants through the jungles of Thailand. I've visited the holiest places in the world and the most haunted places in the world. When I was writing this segment, I started thinking, I sound kind of like Roy the Replicant from Blade Runner. Do you remember Rutger Hauer's monologue at the end of the movie Blade Runner? He says things, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships at the on fire off the shoulder of Orion and so forth and so on. Fact of the matter is, I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to say I've done all these great things. I don't think of my life as remarkable at all. I just ask, why does anyone settle for less? Right? Why don't you do these things? Why doesn't everyone do these things? These things don't make me special. I still pick up the poop jobs after my dog. I still clean the toilets in the bathroom. I still unclog the drains. I'm just a normal guy. I have to give a lot of credit or maybe blame to my wife Kathy for these things. She drags me all over the world, and her motto is, we're going to have fun whether you like it or not. And I used to call her Kathy, I'll sleep when I'm dead Peterson, because she likes to go out and grab as much life as she can, and we all should. I remember an old Judas Priest song called "Running Wild," and this is a early, one of probably the first heavy metal bands, right? I mean, if you don't count Black Sabbath. But "Running Wild," the tagline of the song is, "What's the point of living unless you're living wild?" And I remember when I was young, my wife and I had just started dating, and we were chatting with a mutual friend named Ann Korf. And she asked us about our plans. Now that we're together and friends, she knew us both. And I said, well, you know, someday, maybe in a couple of years, I want to take Kathy to Europe and show her, you know, because I had been there once to Germany. And Anne said, what do you mean someday? What do you mean in a couple of years? Do it now. Just make the plans, set the goals, work to achieve them. If you wait for someday, you're going to wait forever. There'll always be an excuse to put it off. And the fact of the matter is, we're only given a limited number of hours on this planet, so you got to make the most of them, right? Why? Because there are no guarantees in this life. One time, Kathy and I were in Hawaii, and we were waiting in line to board one of these tourist submarines. And it takes you under the water to look at fishes and shipwrecks and stuff. And the guy next to us in line was young. He looked maybe like he was 23 years old. And we were pretty young ourselves. And he said, you know, you guys are smart for traveling so young. And he said he had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given 6 months to live by his doctor. He said before that diagnosis, he took his life for granted. And he thought, oh, he's got all the time in the world to live his life and do these things. Now he only had 6 months in which to live his entire life. It was very sobering. So my point is, when are you going to start living? Do it now. So find something that feels right and go after it. It's all about the choices we make. So make good choices with your life. I think that I've made very good and careful choices with my life. One of the things choices I made was to not have kids. And some days I regret that, some days I don't. Mostly I don't. People in the 1990s were all concerned about saving the environment and saving the planet and environmentalism and all of that. They were all concerned. But what can you do to reduce carbon emissions in our cars? You know, here's the last truth bomb for this video. The best thing you can do for your planet to save the environment is to not have kids. Stop making more consumers, more polluters, more demand for the planet's resources. Make good choices. You were meant for greatness. We were all meant for greatness. So go out and do it. And this has been Bob Peterson, Truth Bombs #2. Thanks.